This component, if you're working with families and you start working with them and you haven't done this type of work in a while, there's a lot of things that you're going to say that are going to be completely wrong. There was one time we just opened a hospice on the east side, and I was working with a newly chaplain, and he was standing there to the family. I was talking to the family. He comes in and he tells the family, I completely understand what you're going through. I am very sorry this is happening. So he comes in trying to be a supportive presence. And sadly, those circumstances, the family completely shut down because no, you are not in my circumstances. You don't know what I'm going through. How dare you say that I completely understand what you are going through? So we had to do some service recovery in those circumstances to help the family trust us again. So one of the things that you want to keep in mind is whatever comes out of your mouth that you're sharing with them is going to create a trusting relationship with that person at that moment, or it's completely going to break the trust. So you have to be very aware of your feelings at that moment, how comfortable and how uncomfortable you are in those circumstances. So what makes us say the wrong thing? Well, you don't want to be creating more discomfort to the family. It's very awkward when you're in those circumstances that you don't know anybody in that house. You don't know anything, any of the dynamics in there. You're just a guest in their home trying to do the best you can to bring that person back to life, and all of a sudden you're not bringing that person back to life. The person is dead, and you're going to walk them through that process. So you don't want to create more pain than they're already going through, since you were not able to resuscitate the patient. So what do? You try to make them feel less alone. You can't do that. They're going to be in horrible circumstances. They're going to be in horrible pain. They're going to feel completely horrendous about the situation, and you cannot make it better. All we can do is be there with them in those circumstances. That's the most important part that that I teach my employees, volunteers, everybody in the hospice community is, if you don't know what to say, it is okay for you not to say it. Just be there. Just let them know that you are present, and let them know that you're going to be with them at that moment. You don't need to fix it. There's nothing to be fixed. We already tried to fix it. It's not going to get fixed. Now we're going to be here present with them. A lot of times we say things to make ourselves feel better rather than trying to help them feel better. So when I started doing this work right after grad school, I kept saying to myself in my brain, am I saying this to make myself feel better, or am I saying this because it's what the family needs to hear? 90% of the time I was saying it to make myself feel better, so I just kept my mouth shut and just stay there present with them. So keep that and practice it as you keep going into these circumstances, and then it will become more and more natural. There's different terminology of saying the wrong thing. Everybody's a different personality, and we all have different filters of how we live our lives. So there is the shielding, the minimizing, the fixing, and the resorting to platitudes. So please, as I go through the slides, think about which one you identify yourself with, so we can talk a little bit more about them. So the first one is the shielding. It's the person that is trying to protect somebody's feelings, and they take information away from the reality. They don't want to see the body. They want, let's say that the neighbor comes in because they saw the lights and the alarm and everything, and all of a sudden there's the wife by the dead husband, and the neighbor comes in and says, no, we need to take her away. She shouldn't be seeing this. And then all of a sudden this random person is coming in and taking this person away. We have to step up and let them know and say, no, it is okay. It is okay for us to tell the neighbor, this is our moment. We need to let her be with that person at that time. Using the languages that we just talked about, we have lost him, he passed, he's no longer with us. So those are the things that we might react to because that's the way that we have lived our lives. So we have to be aware that not only we're not going to react that way, the people around us are going to be reacting in this manner. And what the bereaved needs at that time? They don't need that. They need us to be supportive of them. Then there is a minimizing. That is somebody that says, I just know how you feel. Like I just told you, that chaplain was trying to make that family more comfortable, connect with them, and they just instead creating that wall. So it's important for us to be aware that when you say, I know how you just feel, that's not what you're trying to say. You're trying to say, you're not alone. I have gone to something very similar, and everything is okay, and everything is okay now for me. I know it's not okay for you right now, but I survived this, so you will survive it. That's not what they want to hear, but when you're minimizing it, that's what you're trying to tell them. So what is hurt is that, hey, by the way, this is not too bad that this person died. This person got through it. I'm gonna get through it. And how they feel is like, no, you don't know how you don't have a clue about how I feel. So keep that in the back of your mind when that is coming. It's gonna come out. The filter won't stop. The fixing is an instructional response. It's an instinct for medical personnel, EMTs, and a lot of men that will say, we'll be okay. You are strong. You have to be strong. I have seen many times in the emergency department, family members turn around to a 10-year-old and say, now you're the head of the household. And I'm like, oh, great, $10 in a therapy jar, because you know that that is going to stay with them during the entire process as they grow up. That this person told me on the worst day of my life that now I needed to be the head of the household, and I'm only 10 years old. So that is something that you don't want to do. You want to make sure that you are present with them. No, they don't need to grow up. No, they don't have to play any roles. Right now, they're the bereaved. They're at a horrible place, and they don't need to think about the future. They don't need to think about something bigger. So a lot of times I just sit when I'm working with children and they have had an unexpected death. I just sit with them and just listen to them. And just listen. They have a lot of questions. They're very black and white questions, and you answer them very black and white. They're tough because they don't have all the baggage that we have in our brains. They don't have all the experiences that we have had. So we try to make things a lot cleaner for children, but children are very black and white. They can handle it. If you provide a stable environment for that kid, they can handle that that person just died. Grandma just died. Mom died. My brother just died. And they're going to ask you questions, and you're going to give them the answers. And they're going to be able to, because they don't have all the garbage that we have in our brains, they're going to be able to go back to playing or walking or going back into their room to watch TV. They're still grieving, but they don't need to be grieving for 5 hours like we do as adults. They only might grieve a little bit at a time. 10 minutes, go and do another thing, come back, and then they grieve again. And then the other one is the platitudes. Resorting to platitudes often occurs when we look at ways to fill the silence. I am a talker. So as a talker, I want to not be in an environment that is awkward, and I want to make sure that I'm making everybody feel better. So it's very important that that's not my purpose. Yes, Lisa, you're a talker, but that's not what that family needs at that time. So I have to switch myself from being a talker to be an actual supportive presence and stop talking and just listen. So that is something that is a constant self-talk that I do to myself as I'm providing support to families. A lot of times you want to say they're in a better place now, they're not suffering anymore, he had a good long life, this is God's will. My gosh, that makes me so angry. How dare you like all of a sudden say, yep, God decided they're going to take this person away from me. No, that is not what we say at that moment. That is a process, and that is for the bereaved to realize themselves, not for you to point it out to them. And God needed another angel. Well, why did they take mine? Why couldn't they find another angel down the street? So those are the things that you want to keep in mind. Do you recognize yourself with any of those that we just talked about? Have you minimized the circumstances or just come up with platitudes because it helps us in an awkward circumstances? I have done it, so you can say yes, I did it because I have done it. We're all humans. That's why we're having this conversation, so we can be more prepared to meet the needs of our community. One of the things that I love about this slide, and I cannot take credit for any slides, is the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. We have a revised golden rule: treat others the way they want to be treated. So again, when we are going into these crises, this is not about our filters. This is their situation, and we're coming as a guest into their situation. So we're going to provide the support that they need, not the support that I think I need if I'm in those circumstances. And that is not easy. That takes a lot of practice and a lot of self-awareness. Being okay with the strong emotional response and ability to listen without fixing it. And that's tough, because we're fixers. We want to fix it all and move to the next thing. And in those circumstances, you can't.